The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but it was also a place of danger. In a distant corner of space, an alliance of powerful alien species had gathered aboard a massive station orbiting a dying star. These aliens were advanced, with sleek ships, psychic abilities, and technology humanity could only dream of. To them, humans were nothing more than pests, short-lived, fragile creatures who dared to venture into territories they didn't belong in. Captain Ryan Carter stood at the center of the assembly hall, his uniform crisp despite the tension in the air. Beside him were two members of his crew. Lieutenant Jake Monroe, a fiery young pilot with a reputation for taking risks, and Dr. Laura Bennett, a calm and analytical scientist who always seemed to have a plan. They represented Earth's first attempt at diplomacy with this coalition of alien races. But as Ryan looked around the room, he saw sneers and smirks on the faces of the aliens. Their laughter echoed softly, though none of them bothered to hide their disdain. A tall alien with shimmering blue skin and piercing yellow eyes stepped forward. His name was Varnock, leader of the Alliance. He spoke in a deep, rumbling voice that filled the chamber. "You call yourselves explorers," he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "Yet your ships are primitive, your weapons outdated, and your bodies so breakable." The other aliens chuckled, clearly amused by Varnock's words. Ryan clenched his fists, but kept his composure. "We're here to talk about peace," he replied firmly. "Earth has no interest in conflict. We seek only to explore and learn." "Explore?" Another alien interrupted, her voice sharp like glass. She had translucent skin that glowed faintly, and her 6 eyes scanned the humans with obvious disgust. "Your kind spreads like a disease. You take what isn't yours without understanding the consequences." Jake shifted uncomfortably beside Ryan, his hands twitching as if ready to reach for his sidearm. Laura placed a reassuring hand on his arm, silently reminding him to stay calm. This wasn't the time for anger. It was the time for patience. Varnock leaned closer, his towering frame casting a shadow over the humans. "Leave these regions of space," he demanded. "Return to your little planet, and stay there. If you refuse," he paused, letting the threat hang in the air, "you will regret it." Ryan met Varnock's gaze without flinching. "We won't back down," he said evenly. "Humanity has every right to explore the stars. If you want us gone, you'll have to make us leave." The room erupted in laughter. The aliens found Ryan's defiance amusing, like a child pretending to stand up to an adult. Varnock waved a dismissive hand. "Very well," he said coldly. "You've made your choice. When we come for you, remember, you brought this upon yourselves." As the humans left the station, the weight of the situation settled heavily on them. Back aboard their modest ship, the mood was grim. Jake slammed his fist against a wall. "They think we're weak," he growled. "They don't know what we're capable of." Laura adjusted her glasses, her mind already working through possibilities. "They underestimate us," she said thoughtfully. "That might work in our favor." Ryan nodded, his jaw tight with determination. "They laughed at us today," he said. "But tomorrow, they'll see exactly what happens when you mess with humanity." Back on Earth, news of the alien ultimatum spread quickly. Governments held emergency meetings, and military leaders scrambled to prepare for the worst. The aliens had made it clear, humanity's presence in certain parts of space was not welcome, and if they refused to leave, war would follow. For many, the situation felt hopeless. Earth's technology was far behind that of the alien alliance, and its defenses were spread thin across the globe. Yet, despite the odds, a small group of people refused to give up. General Samantha Hayes stood in front of a large map of the contested region of space. Her sharp eyes scanned the room, taking in the faces of her team. They were a mix of soldiers, engineers, scientists, and strategists. Ordinary people asked to do something extraordinary. Among them was Lieutenant Jake Monroe, whose fiery determination had earned him a spot in the mission, and Dr. Laura Bennett, whose calm demeanor masked a brilliant mind capable of solving even the toughest problems. We don't have much time, Samantha began, her voice steady but firm. The aliens think we're weak, and maybe compared to them we are. But strength isn't just about weapons or ships. It's about how you use what you've got. She pointed to the map. We're setting up an outpost here, near the edge of their territory. It'll serve as both a defensive position and a base for reconnaissance. Jake raised his hand. With all due respect, General, how are we supposed to hold our ground against them? Their ships could crush us without breaking a sweat. Samantha nodded. You're right. They outnumber us, and their tech is better. But they're also arrogant. They don't think we can fight back, and that's our advantage. We'll hit them where they least expect it, with speed, creativity, and teamwork. Laura stepped forward, holding up a tablet displaying schematics of human equipment. I've been reviewing our resources, she said. If we modify our existing tech, we might be able to level the playing field. For example, EMP devices could disable their systems temporarily, giving us a chance to strike. Samantha smiled faintly. Exactly. This isn't about matching their power. It's about outsmarting them. We'll rely on guts and brains, not just guns. Preparations moved quickly. Engineers worked around the clock to upgrade ships and weapons, while pilots practiced evasive maneuvers designed to confuse faster, more advanced enemies. Soldiers trained in unconventional tactics, learning how to adapt to unpredictable situations. Morale was low at first, with many questioning whether they stood any real chance against such overwhelming odds. But as the days passed, a sense of purpose began to emerge. One evening, Jake found himself sitting beside Laura in the mess hall. He poked at his food, his frustration still evident. "Do you really think we can pull this off?" he asked. "I mean, come on. We're talking about aliens who probably laugh at laser pointers." Laura chuckled softly. "Maybe they do," she admitted. "But remember, they're underestimating us. That's their mistake. Humans have always thrived in impossible situations. We adapt, we improvise, and most importantly, we never give up." Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I just hope you're right. Because if we screw this up, it's not just us. It's everyone back home." The next morning, the fleet launched into space, carrying with it the hopes of billions. As the ships approached the designated location for the outpost, the crew braced themselves for what lay ahead. They knew the aliens wouldn't take their defiance lightly, but as Ryan Carter reminded them over the comms, "They laughed at us once. Let's show them why they shouldn't have." Despite the fear gnawing at their stomachs, the humans pressed on, united by a shared belief. No matter how strong the enemy, humanity's spirit could not be broken. The human outpost was a modest structure, hastily built on a barren moon near the edge of the contested zone. Its walls were made of reinforced metal, and its defenses included a mix of old-fashioned turrets and experimental EMP devices designed by Dr. Laura Bennett. Though it wasn't much to look at, the outpost served its purpose, a stronghold for humanity against the looming threat of the alien alliance. The crew worked tirelessly to fortify their position, knowing that an attack could come at any moment. Lieutenant Jake Monroe sat in the cockpit of his fighter, running pre-flight checks for what felt like the 100th time. He hated waiting. It made him restless. "How long do you think they'll give us before they show up?" he asked over the comms. Captain Ryan Carter's voice crackled through the speakers. "Hard to say, but don't let your guard down. They're watching us. I'm sure of it." Jake grunted in response, gripping the controls tighter. He didn't like feeling vulnerable, especially when the enemy had all the advantages. Still, he trusted Ryan's leadership and Laura's ingenuity. If anyone could turn the odds in their favor, it was them. Late one night, as most of the crew rested, alarms blared throughout the outpost. A swarm of alien drones, small, sleek machines equipped with sharp blades and energy weapons, descended from the sky, targeting the base. The attack was swift and unexpected, catching some of the defenders off guard. Soldiers scrambled to man the turrets, while engineers raced to activate the EMP devices. "Hold the line," Ryan shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Don't let them breach the perimeter." Jake leaped into action, launching his fighter into the fray. The drones moved quickly, darting between buildings and firing bursts of energy. At first, it seemed impossible to hit them. They were too fast, too unpredictable. But Jake remembered Laura's advice: use their speed against them. He began flying erratic patterns, forcing the drones to adjust their trajectories. When they slowed even slightly, he fired. On the ground, Laura directed a team of engineers to deploy the EMP devices. "Now," she yelled, flipping the switch. A pulse of energy surged outward, disabling several drones mid-flight. The machines plummeted to the ground, lifeless and smoking. Cheers erupted from the defenders. But Laura knew this was only the beginning. These drones were likely scouts, sent to test the humans' defenses. By the time the attack ended, the outpost was damaged but intact. The crew worked together to clean up the debris and repair the damage. Amid the wreckage, Laura spotted something unusual. One of the drones hadn't been completely destroyed. Its core still glowed faintly, emitting a low hum. She knelt beside it, her mind racing with possibilities. "This could be exactly what we need," she muttered to herself. Calling over a few technicians, she carefully dismantled the drone, examining its components. What she found was astonishing. The alien technology relied heavily on interconnected systems, meaning a single disruption, like an EMP, could cascade into total failure. It was a weakness they could exploit on a larger scale. When Ryan and Jake joined her later, she explained her discovery. "If we can replicate this effect on a bigger scale, we might be able to disable entire fleets," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "Good work, Laura. Let's get started on upgrading our defenses. Whatever comes next, we'll be ready." As the crew returned to their tasks, a renewed sense of hope filled the air. The aliens had underestimated them once again, leaving behind valuable intelligence. Jake grinned as he climbed back into his fighter. "Let them come," he said under his breath. "We've got a few tricks left." For the first time since arriving, the humans felt a spark of confidence. They had proven that even the smallest victories mattered, and that every advantage counted in the fight ahead. The days following the drone attack were tense but productive. Dr. Laura Bennett worked tirelessly with her team to analyze the captured alien technology, while Captain Ryan Carter coordinated defensive strategies for the outpost. The crew knew it was only a matter of time before the aliens launched a larger assault, and they needed to be ready. Morale remained high, fueled by their recent success in repelling the drones. For once, the humans felt like they had a fighting chance. Laura's breakthrough came sooner than expected. After countless hours of study, she identified key vulnerabilities in the alien systems. Their ships relied on intricate networks that could be disrupted by targeted EMP bursts. With this knowledge, she designed upgraded versions of the EMP devices, capable of disabling entire squadrons of enemy vessels. "We can't match their firepower," she explained during a briefing. "But we don't have to. If we hit them hard enough at the start, we can cripple their ability to fight back." Ryan nodded approvingly. "Good work, Laura. Let's make sure every ship and turret is equipped with these upgrades. We'll need all the advantages we can get." Lieutenant Jake Monroe, meanwhile, spent his time training the pilots. He drilled them relentlessly, teaching them how to use speed and unpredictability to outmaneuver the aliens. "They're bigger and faster," he told his team, "but that doesn't mean they're smarter. Stay sharp, stay unpredictable, and you'll survive." The calm didn't last long. One evening, as the sun set over the barren moon, the sky lit up with the glow of incoming ships. The alien fleet had arrived. Dozens of sleek, menacing vessels, descending like predators circling their prey. Panic rippled through the outpost, but Ryan's voice cut through the tension. "This is it, people. Stick to the plan. Show them what happens when you mess with humanity." The battle began with a barrage of energy blasts from the alien ships. The humans responded with everything they had, turrets firing nonstop, fighters darting through the chaos, and EMP devices launching pulses of energy into space. At first, it seemed hopeless. The aliens' weapons tore through the outpost's defenses, causing explosions and leaving craters in the ground. But then, one of Laura's upgraded EMPs struck true. A massive pulse surged outward, disabling several alien ships instantly. Their engines sputtered, and they drifted helplessly in space. Jake seized the opportunity. Leading a squadron of fighters, he dove toward the disabled ships, firing missiles to finish them off. "Take that, you bastards," he shouted, his voice filled with triumph. The aliens, caught off guard by the unexpected counterattack, struggled to regroup. On the ground, soldiers manned the remaining turrets, picking off smaller enemy craft that tried to breach the perimeter. Laura monitored the situation from the command center, directing resources where they were needed most. "Keep targeting their lead ships," she instructed. "If we can take out their command structure, the rest will fall apart." The turning point came when Jake spotted the alien flagship, a colossal vessel bristling with weapons, at the center of the fleet. It was heavily armored, but its size made it slow and cumbersome. "That's the big one," Jake said to his team. "Follow me." With reckless determination, Jake led his squadron in a daring run toward the flagship. Dodging enemy fire, they released a concentrated EMP burst directly at the ship. The effect was immediate. The flagship's systems went dark, its weapons falling silent. Cheers erupted from the defenders as the alien fleet began to retreat, their confidence shattered. When the dust settled, the humans stood victorious, but battered. The outpost was in ruins, and many lives had been lost. Still, there was no denying what they had achieved. They had faced overwhelming odds and won, proving that humanity's strength lay not in its technology, but in its courage and ingenuity. As the survivors gathered to assess the damage, Ryan looked out at the stars. "They underestimated us," he said quietly. "Let's hope they never make that mistake again." The aftermath of the battle left the outpost in shambles, but the mood among the humans was one of cautious triumph. They had faced an alien fleet far superior to their own and emerged victorious, not through brute force, but through clever tactics and sheer determination. Captain Ryan Carter walked among the crew, his expression a mix of pride and sorrow. Pride because they had proven humanity's resilience, sorrow because too many good people had been lost in the fight. Dr. Laura Bennett stood near the command center, staring at the wreckage of alien ships scattered across the barren landscape. Her mind was already working on ways to improve their defenses further, knowing this victory might only buy them time. The aliens wouldn't stay away for long. They were too arrogant to accept defeat easily. "We need to prepare for another attack," she said to Ryan as he approached. "They'll be back, and next time, they won't underestimate us." Ryan nodded grimly. "I know, but we've shown them what we're capable of. That gives us an edge." Lieutenant Jake Monroe leaned against his fighter, exhausted but exhilarated. His hands were still trembling from adrenaline, and his uniform was singed from close calls during the battle. Despite the weariness weighing him down, he couldn't stop smiling. "Did you see that?" he asked anyone who would listen. "We took out their flagship. Their precious, shiny ship, gone." His enthusiasm was contagious, lifting the spirits of those around him. Even the engineers, covered in grease and sweat as they repaired damaged equipment, cracked smiles. For the first time since arriving on the moon, the humans felt like they weren't just surviving. They were fighting back. As night fell over the outpost, the crew gathered around makeshift fires, sharing stories of the battle. Some laughed about narrow escapes, while others spoke quietly of friends who hadn't made it. It was a moment of unity, a reminder that they were all in this together. Ryan joined them briefly, sitting cross-legged on the ground. He didn't say much, letting the conversations flow naturally, but his presence reassured everyone. He was their leader, steady and unshakable. The next morning, Laura called a meeting to discuss their next steps. "We've learned a lot from this battle," she began, pointing to a holographic display showing the alien fleet's formation. Their command structure is centralized. If we can disrupt it early, we can cripple their entire operation. Jake raised his hand. So, more EMPs. Exactly, Laura replied. But we also need to adapt. They'll change their tactics now that they know what we can do. We have to stay one step ahead. Ryan added, and we need to send a message to Earth and to the aliens. This isn't just about defending ourselves anymore. It's about proving that humanity belongs here, among the stars. Over the following days, the crew worked tirelessly to rebuild and strengthen the outpost. Engineers installed additional EMP emitters on every ship and turret, while pilots practiced new formations designed to maximize their impact. Soldiers drilled endlessly, honing their skills for whatever came next. Everyone understood the stakes. Failure meant not just losing the outpost, but potentially Earth itself. Meanwhile, word of their victory spread. Back on Earth, news of the battle inspired millions. People who had once doubted humanity's ability to stand against advanced species now rallied behind the cause. Supplies and reinforcements began arriving, bolstering the outpost's defenses. The message was clear: humanity wasn't backing down. When the aliens finally returned weeks later, they came with a larger fleet and renewed aggression. But this time, the humans were ready. As the alien ships descended, Ryan gave the order, "Let them come. Show them why they should never have underestimated us." The battle that followed was fierce, but the humans held their ground. Using everything they had learned, they struck decisively, targeting command ships and disabling enemy systems with precision. By the time the aliens retreated again, their forces were in disarray. The humans had proven beyond doubt that their so-called weakness was actually their greatest strength: ingenuity, teamwork, and an unbreakable will to survive. As the dust settled once more, Ryan looked at his crew. They were battered but unbroken. "They thought we were weak," he said, "but we're still standing, and we're not going anywhere." The alien fleet's retreat marked a turning point, not just for the humans at the outpost, but for the galaxy as a whole. Word of their repeated victories spread quickly among the alien alliance, sowing doubt and discord among its members. The once united coalition began to fracture, with some species questioning whether humanity was truly worth the cost of continued conflict. For the first time, the aliens realized they had underestimated their opponents. Captain Ryan Carter stood in the command center, watching as a delegation of alien leaders approached the outpost. Their ships were smaller this time, unarmed, a clear sign they weren't here to fight. "They want to talk," Ryan said, his tone cautious but firm. "But we're not lowering our guard." Lieutenant Jake Monroe clenched his fists, still bristling from the battles they'd fought. Why should we trust them? They'd done nothing but attack us. Dr. Laura Bennett adjusted her glasses, her calm demeanor steadying the room. "Because we've shown them we can't be pushed around. If they wanted to destroy us, they'd have kept fighting instead of coming here to negotiate." Ryan nodded. "She's right. Let's hear what they have to say, but on our terms." The meeting took place aboard one of the human ships, a neutral ground chosen to ensure neither side felt threatened. Ryan led the human delegation, flanked by Laura and Jake. Across the table sat Varnock, the tall blue-skinned leader of the alien alliance, and several other representatives. Their expressions were unreadable, though none of them smirked or laughed this time. Varnock spoke first, his deep voice carrying a note of grudging respect. "We did not expect resistance," he admitted. "Your kind is fragile, short-lived, and technologically inferior, yet you have proven capable of surprising us." Ryan crossed his arms. "Surprising you or beating you?" Varnock's glowing yellow eyes narrowed slightly, but he didn't rise to the bait. "You are persistent, I will grant you that. But this war benefits no one. Continuing it would only lead to unnecessary loss on both sides." Laura leaned forward. "Then why start it in the first place? You demanded we leave without reason, attacked us without provocation. Humanity seeks peace, but not at any cost. The alien council murmured among themselves before another representative stepped forward, a slender being with translucent skin and multiple eyes. Her voice was sharp, almost defensive. We acted out of caution. Your rapid expansion into space alarmed us. We saw a threat where perhaps there was none. Jake snorted under his breath, earning a subtle nudge from Laura. Ryan kept his focus on the aliens. Humanity isn't looking to conquer. We're explorers, builders. If you'd come to us peacefully from the start, none of this would have happened. Varnock sighed, a rare display of emotion. Perhaps we were hasty. That does not change the fact that your presence disrupts the balance of power in this region. Ryan shook his head. Balance doesn't mean exclusion. There's room for all of us, if we work together instead of against each other. After hours of tense negotiation, an uneasy truce was reached. The aliens agreed to recognize humanity's right to explore and settle in certain areas of space, while Earth promised to establish clear boundaries and communication channels to avoid future conflicts. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As the aliens departed, Varnock paused before leaving the ship. He turned back to Ryan, his expression unreadable. "Do not mistake our withdrawal for weakness," he warned. "If you cross these lines again, there will be consequences." Ryan met his gaze evenly. "And if you underestimate us again, there will be consequences for you too." When the alien ships disappeared into the stars, the humans allowed themselves a moment of relief. Jake grinned, leaning back in his chair. "Can't believe it. We actually pulled it off." Laura smiled faintly. "For now, at least. This is just the beginning. Coexistence won't be easy." Ryan nodded, staring out at the endless expanse of space. "No, it won't. But we've taken the first step. And we've proven something important. Humanity doesn't back down. Not now. Not ever." The crew returned to their duties, their spirits lifted by the knowledge that they had earned the aliens' respect, not through submission, but through strength, ingenuity, and determination. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges yet unseen, but humanity was ready to face them together. In the weeks that followed the truce, life at the outpost began to settle into a new rhythm. The constant threat of attack had eased, replaced by a cautious optimism. For the first time since arriving on the barren moon, the humans allowed themselves to dream of a future where they weren't fighting just to survive. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. He felt a quiet sense of pride, not in the battles they'd fought, but in what those battles had achieved. Lieutenant Jake Monroe leaned against the railing beside him, his usual fiery energy tempered by reflection. "Never thought I'd see the day when aliens treated us like equals," he said, shaking his head. "Guess we showed them we're not just some weak little species." Ryan chuckled softly. "Yeah, we did. But it's not about proving we're better than them. It's about showing we belong here, just like anyone else." Dr. Laura Bennett joined them moments later, holding a tablet filled with data from their recent encounters. "I've been analyzing their tech," she said. "There's so much we can learn from them, if they're willing to share. And maybe, just maybe, we have something to teach them too." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "How to take down their own ships." Laura smiled faintly. "No, like resilience, creativity. Humanity isn't perfect, but we don't give up. That's something even the most advanced species can respect." Back on Earth, news of the truce sparked a wave of celebration. People who had once feared humanity's place in the galaxy now embraced it with open arms. The crew of the outpost became heroes, their names known across the planet. Yet for Ryan, Laura, and Jake, the real victory wasn't fame. It was the knowledge that they had secured a foothold among the stars. As weeks turned into months, the humans and aliens began tentative cooperation. Joint missions were launched to explore uncharted regions of space, combining alien technology with human ingenuity. At first, tensions lingered. Old prejudices didn't disappear overnight, but over time, mutual respect grew. Some alien species even reached out to foreign alliances, eager to learn more about these resourceful newcomers. For Ryan, the experience changed how he saw the universe. It wasn't a battlefield or a competition. It was a vast, interconnected web where every species had something to offer. "We're not alone anymore," he told his crew one evening. "And that's a good thing. The galaxy is big enough for all of us." Jake nodded, his earlier skepticism softened by newfound friendships. "Still, I wouldn't mind keeping a few EMPs handy, just in case." The outpost itself became a symbol of coexistence, a place where humans and aliens worked side by side, learning from each other and building a shared future. Laura often found herself marveling at how far they'd come. What had started as a desperate fight for survival had blossomed into something greater, proof that differences could be bridged and trust could be earned. One night, as the crew gathered to watch a meteor shower streak across the sky, Ryan raised a toast. "To humanity," he said, his voice steady but warm. "To our strength, our courage, and our spirit. We've faced the impossible and come out stronger. This is just the beginning." The others clinked their glasses together, laughter echoing through the cool air. They knew challenges lay ahead. The galaxy was unpredictable, after all. But they also knew they were ready. Together, they had proven that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology or its ships. It was its heart. As the meteors burned brightly overhead, lighting up the darkness, the humans looked toward the stars with hope. They had earned their place among them, not through fear or force, but through determination and unity. And no matter what came next, they would face it as one people, united under the endless expanse of the cosmos.